Josh and Caleb.
Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. This is our second video in our practical effects series. Not calling them episodes, they're just individual movies that happen to all be about practical effects. Last week we talked about the witches and the fog. This week we are talking about The Thing. What the original, well, I say the original, is also a remake of a black and white sci-fi film. It came from, anyway, you guys know what I'm talking about. The 80s one is like a tour de force of practical effects. Maybe one of the best movies to utilize practical effects. So great. We will get into that, but first, there's a couple documentaries I should show. First one is Fearmakers, Volume 2. I don't have Volume 1. I don't know who the directors are for that. But this one includes John Carpenter, and they talk about The Thing, and They Live, and Halloween, of course. Great documentary series, 6 full-length documentaries on one DVD. Really enjoy this documentary. Then the other being the Frankenstein Complex. This is Region 2, I believe. Yeah, Region 2. So you have to have a region-free player to get it, or watch it, I mean. You can get on eBay, possibly. That's where I got. But they talk about The Thing. Alec Gillis and Tom Woodruff Jr., they're in this, and they talk about The Thing. They even show some of the animatronic suits that they had. Great documentary. Get a region-free player and grab that. It's great. Alright, now to the meat and potatoes, if you will. Have my little 4-pack John Carpenter collection, which comes with The Thing, Prince of Darkness, They Live, and his remake of Village of the Damned. Cool series. Eventually I want to get these individually on Blu-ray, or maybe they'll do a John Carpenter Blu-ray collection. That would be cool. These were all Universal films, if you didn't know. But the original, like I've said, best use of practical effects on film, in my opinion. Possibly the best horror movie ever made. To give you guys an example, some great use of practical effects done by the master of practical makeup and effects, Rob Bottin. One of the best, maybe the best, just purely because of The Thing. He also did The Fog with John Carpenter, which we talked about last week. Great, the effects on the ghost and stuff, great. He also did RoboCop, Total Recall, The Howling, Prequel. Great practical effects in The Howling. He also did Mission Impossible, not a horror movie, but some great, when they do the mask and stuff, great use of practical makeup, and 7, which I didn't even know he did those last two. 7, the victims, all actors, by the way. The guy that did the sloth, he freaked out Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt, from what I remember, because he was so still and like barely breathing, and then when I think he legit scared him in that scene, because they thought it was just like a practical, a fake body, they didn't know it was an actual actor. So pretty cool. Those are just some highlights. He had a long career, obviously. Originally, I was very excited when they announced The Thing would be a prequel, and it would lead up to the events of John Carpenter's The Thing. So I was really excited about that. It would lead right up into it. They would show some Easter eggs that are in that movie. Because The Thing obviously was a remake of another movie. It had a great cast, the prequel. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who was in Scott Pilgrim and 10 Cloverfield Lane, one of the best sci-fi sequels ever made. You can fight me on that, even though it really has nothing to do with the first Cloverfield. Anyway, great movie, regardless. Then Joel Edgerton, who's been many things, including being Uncle Owen in a few Star Wars things, the prequels, and the Obi-Wan series. He also was in Warrior, It Comes at Night, which is a decent thriller, and The Gift. The special effects for The Thing prequel, we'll just call it that, were done by Alec Gillis and Tom Woodruff Jr., who a lot of you will probably recognize from a few franchises, mainly Tremors, which we'll talk about next week, and the Alien franchise, which I believe Tom wore the suit for most of the Alien films when it was close, and it wasn't the mother alien. When it was the other one, he was mainly in the suit, I believe. Their company, Amalgamated Dynamics, I'll get it right. They have a YouTube channel. If you want to see all their practical effects, they shot them. I'll leave a picture of their channel. They shot them all because, for insurance, so people would believe that they actually worked on the film, because all their stuff was just CG'd over, and we'll get to that, but you can see the difference. I'll just show some pictures here of the differences. The CG they just got this cheap CGI company to come in, CG over all of their work, and it looks awful. Some of the worst CGI I've literally ever seen. I know I said that for The Witches, but it's very close. This is really bad. Maybe worse than The Witches, which, if you can believe. We'll show some pictures of their practical effects, if I can find some. And I believe they're out there. They looked incredible. Uh, why did the producers change their mind? Because when they started on the project, they were so, they're like, the original is one. I'll keep saying the original even though it's a remake. The 80s, the original was such a tour de force of practical effects. We do not want to come in and do this project unless we can come in and do our own practical effects. And both the director and the company and all the producers said, okay, you can do practical effects for the whole movie. And they shot practical effects for the whole movie. They started out to honor, and eventually it became a joke for the franchise, if you can call it a franchise. Could have been a good movie. I still enjoy it, mainly because of Mary Elizabeth Winstead is so good in it, and Joel Edgerton. They're both great in it. And it has a bunch of Easter eggs that lead into the John Carpenter original. But it's very sad how they did it. In fact, they didn't even know that all their effects had been replaced with CGI. In fact, at the premiere, they were like, it's a great balance of practical and CGI. They had no idea that their effects were replaced. And then they went there, watched the film, and they were shocked. They were so depressed, well, distraught, maybe depressed, that they took their own practical effects that they made for the movie and they made their own horror movie. Oh, I haven't even shown. Is it worth showing though? They made their own horror movie called Harbinger Down, which is a great alien movie. It's better than The Thing. It's better than this. Not like the most great sci-fi alien film. Alec Gillis directed himself. I believe they did a GoFundMe for this. The effects team that brought you Terminator and Aliens, both using practical effects. Produced by them. Believe they wrote the story as well. Yeah, written and directed by Alec Gillis. Great movie for practical effects. If you were bummed out by this one because of all the CGI, go watch this. It is great. Great use of practical effects. The story is a little weak, but I'm glad they trolled the studio and used the effects that they paid for their own movie. But The Thing, what do you guys think about The Thing? I mean, it is what it is, in my opinion. A studio that went behind their team's back and CG'd over all of their glorious work. It's sad. But Alec and Tom eventually switched to CGI anyway. I'll show their recent filmography. All their stuff now is CGI. They do like the creature designs and all of that, so I wish they had stuck with it. Of course, any movie nowadays is going to pick CGI over practical effects. That's just how it is. They had to switch. Stan Winston had to switch, of course. So, it is what it is. That is the thing. Prequel. Is it the worst use of CGI? It was rushed. They had a very short window to do it. Tom and Alex's work looked really good, in my opinion. I mean, I didn't see a cut of the movie with their suits in there, but just from their YouTube channel, it would have been better than what we got. And the producers decide that's not good enough, so we're going to make it look like a PlayStation 1 graphic. Because that's better. So that's it. That is the thing. Very sad story about how producers... This was common at the time. After Jurassic Park, every studio wanted to just fix it in post. We'll use CGI. In fact, there's a story in the Frankenstein complex about Rick Baker on Men in Black. Now, Men in Black did use practical effects, but for the giant bug, he built this big animatronic, and on the day of shooting, the producers came to him. They're like, "No, we're not going to use what you built. We're just going to use CGI. So don't even get out of the truck." I mean, that's how bad it was back in the day. Of course, the thing was a few years after that, obviously. It was 2010? Anyway, doesn't matter. So, there we go. That is our second video in our practical effects series. Hope you guys have been enjoying it. Next week, we will talk about trimmers and how Alec and Tom went from practical effects geniuses to doing CGI trimmers. We'll talk about that next week. Alright, that is going to do it. I'm Josh. More videos coming as always. Until then, if I don't see you out thrifting or at Walt Disney World, I will see you at the movies. Bye.